I was just sitting here checking Eric's math. We're going to kill some bugs. We like to whack bugs, right? So we're gonna kill them. I'm like, oh, I would have used more of that, but I'm an old nozzle guy, so full max rate when it comes to bug killing for me. So what we prepared today, we're going to talk a little bit about. This is really our main product for the company is an insecticide, miticide, and fungicide called PrevAm. And Eric has a little bit of a demonstration here. We're gonna kind of set it into motion and explain what we're doing, and then we'll find a nice volunteer to kind of watch these things and see what they do. So Eric used the minimum rate of 0.4% because he wants to be fair about it. I would use the maximum rate because I like to really watch them squirm. But so what we did is he's got water in a spray bottle. He put a small amount of 0.4% PrevAm. For most of you guys, that'd be about an 8 ounce per acre rate based on your spray volumes. And we're gonna spray these crickets, and we're gonna watch them. And then as I go through the slide deck, I'll explain to you a little bit about the mode of action of the product, how it works, specifically what's in it. So, did you give them a good squirt? I'll give them a good shot. Yeah, these guys use plenty of water in their field. So, and actually we find out the jug works pretty good because if you think about your crop canopy, that's kind of what's going on in the field, right? We spray it into, let's say, a soybean canopy or whatever. It sort of holds the product down in there. So I'm going to make up some time to skip through a couple slides. So what is it? So Ravenza next. We actually have a full line of organic pesticides. PrevAm is not organic, but we do have OMRI-listed insecticides, fungicides, miticides, as well as adjuvants, and then we also have non-OMRI products. So what we do as a company on the crop protection standpoint is we really specialize in this idea of using natural plant extracts or essential oils, in a sense, to create basically softer chemistry. So we are a worldwide company, got actually production facilities on 4 continents, so about 90 countries, and so really probably the biggest company that nobody's ever heard of here in the United States. Most of our business in North America would be on the West Coast in California in the specialty crop market, but our growth right now, where we're moving and shaking, is in the Midwest. So, like I said, the main product we have here, or the main technology we have here, is OraWet, and it is derived from cold-pressed orange oil. It's something that we found kind of by accident in South Africa about 25 years ago, and since then what we've done is refine the process, and we use it to make all sorts of different products, including adjuvants, or we could directly blend them into pesticides. So, PrevAm being one of those. We'll just go right through this. So, PrevAm is an insecticide, miticide, and fungicide. It does have the orange oil technology in it. The active ingredient with the EPA is actually borax, or tetraborohydrate. So it is a classification 8D pesticide, and basically it doesn't have any type of pre-harvest interval or anything. So it's a softer chemistry option that people can use. Very, very soluble, mixes very well. Really no handling issues at all. So if you're looking for a safer alternative, this might be a product you're looking for. So as far as mode of action, let's see here. So this would be how it would work on insects. Mainly, it's a good desiccant. So the orange oil itself is it's a very good solubilizer. We were talking about this, Ben. It's a very good solubilizer. So the main way it'll kill is it'll basically just sort of destroy the waxes off the insect, and after a certain amount of time, they'll just sort of ooze out or bleed out. But more interestingly, it actually acts as a very effective suffocant. So if we break the water tension, basically what it's going to do is suck the product up into the spiracles of the insect, and it'll sort of choke them out. So if you were to pass that around and watch them, you'll see the crickets will kind of flip over, and they'll just kind of start kicking and heaving where they're actually suffocating. So there's the suffocating effect, there's the desiccating effect. If hit the wrong button here, that's okay. If we were to put it on an insect with, let's say, some type of waxy wing, like some of the Lepidopteras, what it'll do is it'll actually cripple the wings up, it'll crumple them up, and then that insect will lose its mobility in the field. And in some cases, we can actually directly affect what's called the fecundity of the insect. So some species of mites, we can see that effect on. Well, so we do have some data on corn rootworm beetles, and by itself, it is not labeled on corn rootworm beetles. How's that? So this would be a foliar applied product. It's not something that we would put on in the ground. Now, I've been told that there's some effect there. Like I said, it's not labeled. I do have some data, if you want to see it, where we've put it on with some bifenthrin and lambda. So we've done those trials. I can show that to you. I've got the data. I was going to kind of slide through it just because we were talking about soybeans earlier. Just toward the end. We'll get it. Can you hold that one? All right. So on diseases, it does kind of the same thing that it does on the insects. It's a very good desiccant. So if we were to get it on something that has an external structure, some type of disease, it'll basically just dry it up. I'll show you a great example of this in a minute on soybean white mold. Is anybody far enough north for white mold? Or seeing that? Okay, I see some nods. So northern Illinois, northern Indiana. The other thing it'll do is it will speed up the time of like dew drying on leaves. So it basically, again, it breaks that water surface tension and it lets that leaf dry out further. More quickly. So we'll show a couple examples here. So this would be an example on white mold. I don't have my pointer because it's TV screen. But this was done in northern Illinois, or pictures from northern Illinois. This would have been a commercial field that we treated. And you can see that normally what it'll do is it'll sort of start up on the petioles, and then you'll see that white fluffy mycelium. It'll kind of move down and get on the main stem of the plant, and then you get the little sclerotia that form up in the pith. So what we did, I won't move away from the camera. So you can see there at 7 days, we didn't get rid of the white mold, but we stopped the mycelial growth. And that's what it'll do. If you can get it on the white fluffy, it'll stop that growth, and then it'll eventually just sort of dry it up. So this is one of the few products that we have out there that can actually stop that growth from happening if we had a problem. And then if you look there at 24 days, those plants were infected, but it didn't get into the main stem. So we were able to go out and basically save the field. Now, we can't bring back dead tissue, right? So the plants that were infected that are dead, we lost those. But we were able to stop the progression of the disease. Here would be an example of leaf surface. This was done at Eric's farm. Eric and I did this. I went out, so I'm a researcher. We went out with the application equipment, small plot application equipment. We applied the PrevAm on corn and beans, and then we went back the next day. So this would have been about an hour after a light rain shower, and we went out and looked at it, and you can see there on the left, the water is all beaded up. That would have been the untreated side, and then on the right, basically that had already dried out. So it was able to break the water tension, and because it basically spread the water out, it was able to dry more effectively. So think about diseases like tar spot in corn, right? They have to have that water on the leaf surface to be able to progress through the crop. So there's a couple different modes of actions that we're looking at here from a fungicide aspect. So you said you wanted to see, we'll just get right through that. Let's talk about corn rootworm beetles because you asked about that and I want to make up a little bit of time. So this was not one I was going to talk about. I do have the slide. Normally it would go out with an insecticide. So normally how we would use PrevAm is we would tank mix it with something else. You can use it alone. It is a EPA registered product. But in this particular case, we looked at it with a lambda product, so like a generic warrior. We looked at it with a bifenthrin product, and basically we picked up about 10% control with that additive effect. Let's see here. Aphids would be another one we get a lot of questions about. Very active on aphids. Here we're looking at PrevAm by itself at two different rates, one being the 0.4% rate that we pass the bucket around somewhere, a little bit higher rate, and then we put it with the bifenthrin product as well, so we can kind of compare it with and without. And you can see that at that 0.8% rate, that would be about an ounce per gallon of carrier. We actually had control of soybean aphids that was equal to the bifenthrin, or actually a little bit better than the bifenthrin by itself. But look what happens when we put them together. So think about it for corn and bean production for the most part. Think about this as you're putting that second, third, fourth mode of action in the tank, right? So a lot of your fungicide products will be maybe a 2 or 3-way type product. We're putting that extra physical mode of action in with the product. And then, of course, we got white mold, which I mentioned, and we can see the additive effect. So Endura would be sort of an industry standard product, and we had it. We added the additional PrevAm, so we're putting that extra mode of action in the tank, and you can see the results there. So this would have been a multi-site trial that we had set up in 2022. And so very excited. It's gaining a lot of traction in areas. I was just talking with our Midwest regional manager this morning. Really where we get a lot of excitement is when people have a problem, it's something that might be a solution. Cercospora sugar beets, great example. White mold in soybeans, great example. Alfalfa weevil, great example. People are having these problems, and they're looking for something additional to use. This is a very good option. What's that? We can. Yep, it's labeled on alfalfa weevils. Sure is. But again, if it's a big problem, we would put it out in a tank mix with something, right? Yep. Right. Normally, that's what we would do, is we would add it as that second mode of action. But you could spray it by itself. So let's say you were in a situation where you needed to harvest the next day, you could do that. So you could spray the PrevAm and go in the next day. And so it's got a 24-hour reentry, but a 0-day harvest. Explain that one to me. That's EPA, right? That's how they do their studies. So yeah, you could go out there if you had a crop. If you needed to spray it on vegetables, for example, you could pick the next day if you needed to. Yeah. It is a contact only, so there's no residual. Now, what I will say about that, and I'm going to say this about any soft, we have some organic producers in here? Maybe? Yeah, okay. So some organic producers. So any soft chemistry, this is just sort of a general statement. If you look at going out and scouting and basically what do? We scout, we have insects, they reach some type of threshold, and we treat, right? That's IPM 101. That's what we do. That's great. Agree with it. That's how I was taught in college 30 years ago. Nothing has changed. The problem is they're assuming you're going to go out and just wipe the slate, right? You're going to kill everything. That's what we expect out of our synthetic chemistries. But that doesn't happen, but that's what we expect. So you got 100 of something, that's the threshold. You kill 99% of them, life is good again. A lot of these soft chemistries, you don't usually kill 100%, right? You get 70, 80, 90%. So if you're going to go with the soft chemistry route, this kind of goes back to your residual question, you're going to be treating earlier, right? So you take something like a PrevAm maybe where you're using it, maybe you're putting it in on a couple different spray passes through your field. You're just sort of keeping that population in check. Make sense? And then the other thing is we're safe on soft on the beneficials. So we're not killing the honeybees. We're not killing the predatory mites. We're not ladybug larvae we're going to get, unfortunately. They're soft-bodied, but we're not going to take out the adult ladybugs because they're all armored up. And the idea there is we're just sort of resetting the system and sort of helping the whole thing move along. So, like I said, most people they're using as a tank mix partner, but if you're a little bit creative and you're looking for a softer option in your field, we can discuss those strategies as well. All right. Yeah. Yeah, corn fungicide is actually our main market. That's actually kind of when we launched it in the Midwest. That's really what we wanted to go after. So tar spot is the one that everybody wants to talk about, right? That's sort of the specter. And we do have some activity, direct activity on tar spot. It's very much dependent on weather and timing. But this would be a great option to put in with a conventional fungicide program. But really where we shine, we're very active on Cercospora. So gray leaf spot we have a lot of direct activity on. So what are you using in a fungicide program? Yep. Sure. Oh, makes sense. Right. Yeah. So we are labeled on rust. So we're labeled on rust. We got a 2EE for tar spot, gray leaf spot. Those will be on the label updates. But basically your Veltima or your Quilt, those would have 3 or 2 fungicide actives. This would be your 4th or your 3rd. So those wouldn't have physical activity. This is going to be a physical activity added to the residual activity. All right. Well, you guys got to see all my slides. I was going to kind of poke through those just to save a little bit of time and kind of make a little bit up, but with the questions, we used them all. I'm glad I had them. Let's see here. Sugarcane aphids, yes. We should have a label on sorghum. You're catching me up from memory. And yes, downy and powdery mildew, it has a label on. Correct. Again, physical mode of action, though. We have to physically touch the aphids. So the real trick is you got to get enough water volume out there to get them, right? To get the coverage. That's the trick. All right. Great questions. Did we kill our crickets? Are they dead yet? Are they really? They are dead that quick. Isn't that amazing? Yep. So if you put this with pyrethroid, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb in the field. So if you want to kill them all, we can do that too. All right, thanks guys.